Part 5. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 41. Su Tianqian took Ruoheng to the wilderness, pointed to a relatively flat place and said, "It's right there." Ruoheng understood and quickly asked people to build a stage. Su Tianqian called me aside and said, "Go and prepare pigs, sheep, cattle, mountain meat, wine, fruits, incense burner." I wrote them down one by one, but immediately ran into trouble. I had a little money in my pocket before, but I used it to buy ingredients to cook for Su Tianqian. Seeing me standing still, Su Tianqian asked with some confusion, "Do you have any more questions?" I scratched my head in embarrassment and said, "Master, I have no money." Su Tianqian was slightly startled, then took out a bank card and handed it to my hand. "You can use the money here first. If you don't have enough money, then talk to me." I took the bank card, said thank you to Su Tianqian, and then went to prepare what Su Tianqian just said. In front of the self-service teller machine, I stared blankly at the amount on the screen. 1, 10, hundreds, millions. 3 million. There are actually 3 million. Just grab it and you'll get 3 million. Is it so profitable to do this? After a moment of shock, I withdrew tens of thousands of dollars to buy what Su Tianqian needed. When I returned to Su Tianqian, the stage had been built. There were tables in front of the stage. At this time, Su Tianqian was arranging something around the stage. "Master, I'm back." Su Tianqian nodded and said, "Place the things you bought neatly on the table. Remember to put a copy of each type of thing on each table." Just as I was placing things, Ruoheng came to my side. Her pretty face suddenly came right in front of my eyes, the corners of her mouth and eyebrows raised, and she looked at me with a smile. I was startled by her sudden move and backed away, blushing instantly. "Miss Ruoheng, do you have something?" Ruoheng sat in front of me with her legs crossed, and her two fair and slender thighs under the red dress were particularly dazzling. "Don't sound so unfamiliar, just call me Ruoheng." I nodded, and Ruoheng started to look me up and down, and after a while he said, "I'm very curious as to why Master Tianqian accepted you as his disciple. You must know that there are many people who want to be Master Tianxuan's disciple. There are also many people who are better than you, but why did they choose you?" I smiled and said, "Fate has its way with people. Without my grandfather's instructions, Su Tianqian would never have accepted me as his disciple." Ruoheng looked at Su Tianqian, who was busy, and sighed slightly, her tone full of disbelief. "I really didn't expect that Master Tianqian would sing a ghost show for you, and he would also record the merits of this ghost show on you." I was slightly startled. "Will the merit be recorded on me?" Seeing my confusion, Ruoheng explained, "Singing ghost plays is a great merit. The master's family benefits the most, but Master Tianqian gave up the identity of the master's family to you." Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a little moved. Su Tianqian said that the best way to suppress evil spirits is to do good deeds and earn merit. And ghost drama is the only choice. Su Tianqian actually went to sing an opera for me. Alas! I didn't expect that a person with her personality would be like this. I have never seen her treat someone so sincerely before. Ruoheng couldn't stop sighing. At this time Su Tianqian walked towards the two of us. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 42. "Ruoheng, have you brought your costume?" "Bring it. I'll get it for you right away." Ruoheng stood up and left. Su Tianqian glanced at me and said, "In the evening, take the paper money and wave it along the wilderness." I nodded, and Su Tianqian continued, "Remember, I may not be able to take care of you when I'm singing on stage. As long as you pretend not to see those ghosts, nothing will happen." Su Tianqian still seemed a little worried, and continued to urge, "Don't panic if you are discovered, I am here." This sentence "I am here" gives me a little more confidence. I don't know why, but I always feel like I'm not like a disciple in front of Su Tianxian, but a kindergartner. I have to give thorough instructions on everything, for fear that something will happen to me. Now I really don't have the ability to be independent. After this matter is resolved, I must let Su Tianxian teach me some methods. For example, that handsome Leiju. Soon, evening falls, the sky is getting dark, the lone bird flies towards the setting sun, and all the noise in the world becomes calm at this moment. I took the paper money and started throwing it around in the wilderness as Su Tianxian said. After I finished spreading the yellow paper, I saw Su Tianxian appeared in front of me wearing a costume. At this moment, there is only one word left in my mind, and that is beauty. The fluttering skirt and coat are tightly wrapped in silk and satin, showing an exquisite and alluring figure. The blue butterfly coat covers her fair skin. There are blue stripes around it, but if you look closely, you can see a dark blue light. Crystal earrings, gorgeous headdress, every outfit is embellished with Su Tianxian's unparalleled and stunning beauty. Su Tianxian came to me, saw me in a daze, and said, "Do you remember what I said to you?" I suddenly woke up and nodded repeatedly. I really almost made a fool of myself. Ruo Hung on one side also opened her red lips slightly, showing surprise. "Master Tianxian. You are so beautiful." Su Tianxian smiled slightly, and this smile was so beautiful that I didn't care. Even Ruo Hung, a woman, was dumbfounded. Soon, night falls. Ruo Hung did not leave, she sat at the table like me. In her words, she just wanted to stay here and watch Su Tianxian sing. Su Tianxian slowly walked onto the stage, and the bright moonlight shone on her body, as if she was covered with a silver gauze skirt. I stood up, took the incense, inserted it into the incense burner, and lit it. Soon the smoke curled up, making it look very dreamy. After doing this, Ruo Hung waved to me and said, "Come on. Come and watch your master sing." Ruo Hung looked very excited, as if she was a star-chasing little girl. I sat next to her, and Su Tianxian danced to the sound of the opera. Her red lips opened slightly and she began to sing babblingly. Su Tianxian's voice is very ethereal, and her movements are also very graceful, just like a goddess descending to earth, unstained by the worldly world, untainted by the world's fireworks. Ruo Hung's eyes were twinkling with little stars, and she said to herself, "Master Tianxian sings better than me." Although Ruo Hung looks like a royal sister, after a brief contact with her, I found that she is very playful and cute. For Ruo Hung, who has been singing since childhood, to say such words is enough to show how professional Su Tianxian is. About 10 minutes later, the wind around me picked up, and a noisy sound reached my ears. My heart tightened. Here it comes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbo. Chapter 43. Ruo Hung also noticed something strange around her, but she didn't react much. She was originally a ghost performer, and she had seen this kind of scene not once or twice. I sat on the chair, my back straight, and I began to feel uneasy. At this moment, a figure walked quietly in front of me, followed by a second and a third. These people all have common characteristics. His face was pale and ashen, and his whole body was exuding a bone-chilling chill. Immediately afterwards, the sound of chewing food came to my ears. I knew without thinking that it was those lonely ghosts eating. I spent another 5 minutes in this eerie, quiet atmosphere. Suddenly, I felt a dark wind blowing around me, as if something was standing next to me. "Master, we don't have enough meat. Do you have any more?" An eerie voice reached my ears. I subconsciously wanted to stand up, but was held down by Ruo Hung, who kept her eyes fixed on Su Tianqian on the stage. This click also made me feel at ease a lot. I suppressed the fear in my heart and ignored the lonely ghost beside me. The sound soon disappeared, just when I thought nothing happened. A chubby little pale hand grabbed my thigh. I was shocked. I can't see anything. I kept putting psychological suggestions on myself. Because my master said that as long as you pretend not to see them, nothing will happen. At this moment, I felt the stool under me begin to shake violently, and I turned my eyes to look down. It didn't matter. I almost screamed. Under the fingertip stool, a small head poked out. This was a child. The child was covered in blood, his eyes were sunken, and his eyes were completely black without whites or pupils. This looks exactly like the kid named Toshio in The Grudge. It was extremely scary, and I knew this kid. It's the little devil among the two evil pairs of son and mother. He actually found me. I pretended not to see it, but the kid crawled out from under the stool and stood in front of me. The kid looked vicious and stared at me silently. I felt chills running down my spine. If the kid made any moves, I might not be able to hold on. As soon as this thought emerged in his mind, the kid slowly opened his mouth and let out a piercing scream. I could clearly see that the corners of his mouth were cracked, the flesh and blood were slowly tearing apart, and the corners of his mouth were grinning toward the back of his ears. Daruohong also saw this scene. She frowned slightly, obviously worried about me. The kid became very scary at this time, with his mouth wide open and blood slowly falling from the corners of his mouth. He lunged toward me. It's impossible for me to keep pretending at this time. If I keep pretending, I will be bitten by the kid. At this critical moment, Ruohong raised her foot and kicked the kid away. I stood up suddenly and quickly distanced myself from the kid. I looked around subconsciously, and the scene in front of me made my hair stand on end instantly. Countless ghosts sat in front of the table, frantically munching on the meat on the table, and some even lay on the ground greedily sucking it for fire. The movement from my side caused them to stop moving, and the scene in front of them seemed to be still. The eyes of all the ghosts turned slowly and looked at me in unison. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 44. In addition to death, the ghost's eyes also contained other emotions, the most common of which was panic. The noise from my side has disturbed these lonely ghosts. Lonely ghosts are different from fierce ghosts. They don't have much resentment. Compared with fierce ghosts, they are less courageous. After a while, hundreds of ghosts fled frantically, and a dark wind suddenly blew up, blowing tables and chairs, knocking over incense burners, and the scene was extremely chaotic. Su Tianxuan's ethereal and graceful voice came to an abrupt end. The kid who was kicked to the ground by Ruohong opened his bloody mouth and rushed towards me again. I kept retreating, and at this critical moment, a beautiful figure blocked in front of me. Then there was a flash of lightning in front of my eyes and a burst of thunder in my ears. Su Tianqian pinched his sword finger and pointed it towards the kid's forehead. Instantly, thunder and lightning exploded, and the kid was knocked away. Then Su Tianqian no longer hesitated, and the green-white jade hand seals kept changing. Suddenly, I saw 4 golden lights emerging from the 4 directions of east, west, north, and south, trapping the fleeing ghosts in the golden light formation. I stared dumbfounded at what I saw. This is the first time I see Su Tianqian take action. I never thought Su Tianqian could be so powerful. Not just me, Ruohong is the same. Her red lips were slightly open, her beautiful eyes were twinkling with little stars, and she looked at Su Tianqian with eyes filled with admiration. Su Tianqian turned around, looked at me back and forth, and didn't say anything when he saw that I was fine. All the fleeing ghosts were trapped in the magic circle by Su Tianqian, and it was impossible to escape. At this moment, a figure came from the darkness not far away. I took a closer look and it turned out to be that ghost. Kazan was still dressed as last night, wearing a black shroud, with starry eyebrows and sharp eyes. His face was pale, and his whole body exuded a ghostly aura. The fierce ghost who was agitated and wanted to escape immediately calmed down when he appeared. One by one, they were huddled in the corner and shivering. The ghost messenger came to Su Tianxian, raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and said, as expected of Master Tianxian, he is really powerful. He caught the fleeing ghost in less than a night. Su Tianxian was indifferent to Goicha's flattery and just said it lightly. I'll leave this to you. Goicha seemed to have long been accustomed to Su Tianxuan's indifference. He put his eyes on me and said, "Boy, stretch out your hands." I was stunned for a moment. You want me to finish it? Didn't the ghost help you catch it? Why are you still so stubborn? Seeing that I was still unmoved, Kazan repeated it again. Kid, hold out your hand. I glanced at Su Tianxian, wanting to see what she meant. Su Tianxian nodded to me. I understood what Su Tianxian meant and quickly reached out my hand. Anasashi grabbed my wrist directly, and the biting cold instantly spread throughout my body. What is he going to do? I saw Gazashi directly inserting his slender nails into my palm, and the entire palm was directly penetrated by him. The excruciating pain made me cry out in pain. When the nail was pulled out, the wound miraculously healed, and a mark appeared on my palm. Boy, you bumped into me last night. If it weren't for your master, you would have died. This ghost mark will be my punishment for you. From today on, you will be my agent in the world of Xiangyi. An agent of ghosts in the mortal world? It sounds really awesome, but if you think about it carefully, isn't this his wage earner? Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 45. This ghost named Xiangyi is quite vindictive. Next, the ghosts took away all the lonely ghosts. This naturally includes the little devil. Su Tianxian and I also returned to Jiyuntang. On the way, I asked about the ghost seal. Su Tianxian explained, this ghost mark is also a good thing for you. You have a special destiny and a constitution that makes it easy to encounter ghosts. If you help him extradite the ghosts, it will also bring you merit, so that he can also benefit. And the number of attacks you have will be reduced. Ruohong curled her lips and said, he is asking you to help him improve his performance. It dawned on me. It turns out that Xiangyi is not a philanthropist, and he had a very clear purpose in giving me the ghost seal. Let me just say, how could a ghost official give me a ghost seal for no reason? It turned out that he wanted me to boost his performance. Back at Jiyuntang, Ruohong said goodbye to me and returned to the theater. I suddenly thought of how helpless I was when facing the fierce ghost, and said to Su Tianxian, Master, can you teach me some life-saving methods? For example, thunder technique. Now, no matter what happens to me, I have to have Su Tianxian to protect me. I don't want this to last too long. Because I know that no one will protect you forever. Only when you are strong can you be truly powerful. Su Tianxian glanced at me and said, it's not urgent. Have a good rest tonight and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I nodded and went back to my room. I looked at the ghost mark on my palm, let out a long sigh, and then fell asleep. The next day, as usual, I started cooking for Su Tianxian. After finishing the meal, Su Tianxian said to me, Lu Su, come here. I came to Su Tianxian and asked, Master, what's the matter? Su Tianxian did not speak but instead made a magic formula. I could clearly feel the power contained in Su Tianxuan's fingertips. What I used was the 9 layers thunder technique. As the name suggests, the 9 layers of thunder technique is divided into 9 levels, but each level of thunder technique can be superimposed to release more powerful power. I nodded and asked curiously, Master, how many layers can you stack? 7th level. At this time, I didn't understand the power of the 9 layers thunder technique. Only after I actually practiced it did I realize how powerful the 7th level was. Next, Su Tianqian began to explain to me in detail the training essentials of the 9 layers of thunder technique. Su Tianxuan's explanation was comprehensive. During the process, if I didn't understand something, she patiently answered it. I'm afraid there won't be another such a qualified master in the world. After teaching me the thunder technique, Su Tianqian stood up and said, I have something to go out for. Aren't you going to attend a wedding? Don't break the appointment. Then I remembered that today is Suluo's wedding. I originally didn't want to go to this wedding, but it was related to whether I could find the person who was worthy of my destiny. After Su Tianqian left, I closed the door of Ji Yuntang and took the invitation to Suluo's wedding venue. When I arrived at the hotel, I was slightly stunned. 5-star hotel. It seems that the person Suluo married is not simple. I entered the hotel without attracting much attention. By looking at the dress of the people attending the wedding here, I can tell that these people are either rich or noble. How could someone like me get their attention? The atmosphere at the scene was very festive, and everyone's face was filled with joy. At this moment, I saw a familiar figure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 46. It turned out to be Ruo Hung. Ruo Hung was sitting in the corner like me, with a mountain of food in front of her. At this time, she was in a state of chaos. Why is she here? It was at this time that Ruo Hung also saw me, and she quickly waved to me to come over. I came to her and before I spoke, she handed me a piece of cake. Are you going to eat? Because she was still chewing food in her mouth, her speech was a little slurred. I took the cake but didn't eat it. I asked with some confusion, why are you here? Ruo Hung swallowed the food in her mouth, took a sip of water, and replied, isn't this some tradition in the bridegroom's family? She asked me to sing in her hometown before, and then she invited me to dinner today. What about you? Why are you here too? Invite you to perform at the wedding? This groom's official is indeed somewhat traditional. The bride is my classmate. Ruo Hung suddenly understood, and then continued to eat. It seems that eating is the most important thing in her heart. Hey! Isn't this Lu Su? Suddenly a woman's voice came from behind me. His voice was sharp and harsh, and his words were filled with deep disdain. I turned around and saw a woman wearing heavy makeup. I know this woman, she is my high school classmate, her name is Zhao Ying. There are many familiar faces behind her, all of whom were my high school classmates. Her voice was loud, attracting everyone's attention. Zhao Ying and Suluo are best friends. The relationship between the two is extremely good. In my impression, the two of them will be together no matter what time, and it is normal to meet her here. I politely greeted Zhao Ying and the classmates behind him. I originally thought that Zhao Ying would leave after saying hello, but I didn't expect that she would sit opposite me. She crossed her legs, glanced at me disdainfully, and said, I heard Suluo said you would come. I didn't believe it at first, but I didn't expect you to actually come. Seeing this, other students also sat around. Zhao Ying suddenly said, Lu Su, when you were in school, you were a top student. Where are you now? As soon as these words came out, other students were also a little curious. Yes. A top student like Lu Su must be the boss of a big company. A classmate echoed. Hearing this sentence, Zhao Ying laughed out loud instantly. Her eyes looked up and down my body. Have you ever seen any big boss dressed like this? Today I came out dressed more casually, because the purpose of my coming here is not to attend a wedding, so naturally I don't need to dress up in a grand way. Yesterday Su Tianqian hinted to me that there was a story behind this wedding, so I simply packed up and came. Unexpectedly, the wedding scene turned into a class reunion. Their mocking tone did not make me resentful. After experiencing life and death, the comparison among classmates seems to me to be a very childish thing. I smiled slightly and said, I'm really not a big boss. Now I have a teacher to learn fortune-telling skills. As soon as I said this, everyone looked at me blankly, and then everyone burst into laughter. It turns out to be a magic stick. Our former top student is now a great student. It seems that good study may not necessarily lead to success. Faced with even more intense ridicule from my classmates, I calmly took a sip of water. But Ruo Hung, who was eating at the same time, immediately became unhappy after hearing these words. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 47. Su Tianqian is an idol in her heart. These people actually said that I am a magic stick. Are they indirectly questioning Su Tianqian? Do you know that his master is? Before he finished speaking, I stopped him. I shook my head at Ruo Hung. Ruo Hung understood what I meant instantly, sat down angrily and started eating. I know these guys in front of me just want to make fun of themselves. They want to be in the limelight. I was just a classmate with them, and I had no contact with them after graduation, let alone any contact after that. After the wedding, everyone will be strangers, so there is no need to move out my master now. Once this topic is brought up, it cannot be stopped. The topics they talked about were all about me being a magic stick, and their words were filled with ridicule. Ruo Hung stopped talking after taking my hint. But these words made her very unhappy, and she could only eat to vent her anger. But what Zhao Ying said next made me completely unable to calm down. Lu Su, isn't your master also a magician? I raised my head and looked at Zhao Ying coldly. You can ridicule me however you want, but if you ridicule my master, I can't bear it. Seeing me like this, Zhao Ying was slightly startled, and then said with some dissatisfaction, What? I told you, master, that you are not happy, right? Isn't your line of work just about cheating? Am I wrong? When the students saw Zhao Ying getting angry, they quickly tried to smooth things over. To say it was to smooth things over, it would be better to say it was a mockery of me. Lu Su. Why are you like this? We are all classmates, so why make a fuss? That's right. What happened to you? They were all joking. To say you are a magic stick is to praise you. Just when I was about to have an attack, a familiar voice sounded in my ears. You said my apprentice is a magic stick. The voice was flat, without a trace of emotion. I looked in the direction of the sound and saw Su Tianqian dressed in white standing behind Zhao Ying. Su Tianxian's appearance instantly attracted the attention of everyone in the room. The next moment, bursts of exclamations sounded. Look! It's Master Tianqian. Why is she here? Zhao Ying turned around and saw doubt in Su Tianxian's eyes. Who are you? What's the matter with you here? Obviously, Zhao Ying did not know Su Tianqian. But someone at the table knew Su Tianqian and her name. Su Tianqian glanced at her lightly and said, I am her master. Zhao Ying was first amazed by Su Tianxian's beauty, and then she felt jealous in her heart. You are the master of this magic stick. I didn't expect you to be a woman. At this time, a boy sitting next to her gently pulled the corner of her clothes to signal her to stop talking. What are you trying to do with me? Am I wrong? Lu Su is a magic stick, so naturally her master is also a magic stick. The classmate sighed and quickly distanced himself from Zhao Ying. Master, why are you here? I asked a little surprised. Su Tianqian ignored me and just looked at Zhao Ying lightly. I was slightly startled, seeing that Su Tianqian was trying to stand up for me. It shouldn't be. With her character, how could she care about such a small thing? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wan Bao. Chapter 48. Su Tianqian repeated what he just said again. You said my apprentice is a magician. Su Tianxuan's tone became colder and colder. This was the first time I saw her like this. The movement here attracted the attention of many people. Isn't that Master Tianqian? I didn't expect that Mr. Li was so proud that he invited Master Tianqian over. It's really Master Tianqian. The people around him had already recognized Su Tianqian, and they were talking about him for a while. Zhao Ying also heard these people's discussions and felt a little scared. Is it possible that the woman in front of me is really a big shot? Although she felt a little uneasy, she couldn't lose face with so many classmates watching. That's right. That's him I'm talking about. A hint of chill flashed in Su Tianxuan's eyes. At this time, Suluo saw the situation here and trotted over quickly, and the groom was also with him. This is also the first time I met Suluo's husband. A middle-aged fat man, Mediterranean, with trembling fat on his face, looking very greasy. It seems that my guess was good, Suluo was indeed on the rich list. The middle-aged fat man quickly stepped forward to smooth things over and asked, Master Tianqian, calm down your anger. Although he didn't know what was happening here, he could guess a lot from Su Tianxuan's appearance at this time. Someone without eyesight must have bumped into Master Tianqian. Su Tianqian said nothing and still looked at Zhao Ying coldly. Ruo Hong shrugged helplessly and said, That's it? Master Tianqian is angry. The middle-aged fat man looked at Suluo and said sternly, Is this your good classmate? Seeing the man getting angry, Suluo quickly pulled Zhao Ying over. What are you doing? Why don't you apologize to Master Tianqian? Zhao Ying was stunned for a moment after being yelled at, and suddenly felt aggrieved in her heart. Why? Why should I apologize to her? I didn't say anything wrong. Snapped. The middle-aged fat man slapped Zhao Ying on the face and cursed, Do you know who is standing in front of you? Suluo lowered her voice and said through gritted teeth in Zhao Ying's ear, She is Su Tianqian, she can't even offend me. Zhao Ying didn't know whether she was stunned by the slap or froze in place after hearing these words. She covered the left side of her face and looked at Su Tianqian with fear in her eyes. Apologize. The middle-aged fat man said sharply. Zhao Ying knew that it was impossible not to apologize in this situation. She lowered her head and said to Su Tianqian, Master Tianqian, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Su Tianqian still looked at him coldly. It's not about apologizing to me, it's about apologizing to my apprentice until he is willing to forgive you. Zhao Ying was stunned for a moment, not only her but also me. Su Tianqian actually asked Zhao Ying and me to apologize. This makes me feel warm inside. Ever since my parents and grandparents left, I thought there would be no one in the world to protect me. But now I know that when I am humiliated outside, someone will still stand up. This person is Su Tianqian. Suluo heard this and quickly said to the side, Lu Su, we are all classmates, there is no need to make such a fuss, and today is my wedding, please give me some face and don't embarrass Zhao Ying, okay? I know Suluo wants to use the relationship between me and her to give Zhao Ying a step down. But if I really give up to Zhao Ying, what will Su Tianqian do? I glanced at Suluo and then said, I listen to my master. There was a deathly silence. Especially my classmates, they never imagined that things would turn out like this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 49. Just now they were talking around Zhao Ying, but now that something like this happened to Zhao Ying, no one of them offered words to persuade her. Everyone was watching the excitement, and some even regretted what they had just said to me. The middle-aged fat man glanced at Zhao Ying and said sternly, Why don't you apologize to Master Tianxuan's apprentice? Zhao Ying bit her lip lightly, stood up, and came to me, bowed deeply and said, I'm sorry. At this moment, Zhao Ying's arrogance disappeared completely, and she no longer had the same air as before. Looking at Zhao Ying, who hadn't gotten up for a long time, I didn't say anything and came to Su Tianxuan's side. Ruo Heng also quickly followed. Zhao Ying raised her head and looked at me with eyes full of malice. Su Tianxian took me to the VIP table to sit down. There were only 3 of us in front of the whole table. The middle-aged fat man came to Su Tianxian and apologized in a low voice. Su Tianxian ignored him at all. The middle-aged fat man had no choice but to leave. Ruo Heng poked me with her elbow and whispered, Master Tianxian is so kind to you. I smiled at her and said, it's really good. I really didn't expect that Su Tianxian, a person with such a cold temper, would stand up for me. At this time, Su Tianxian suddenly said, Lu Su, you must always remember that you are my apprentice. I was slightly startled, then nodded. Su Tianxian continued, if you encounter this kind of thing in the future, no need to say more, just teach you a lesson. I will be there if anything happens. I didn't have any reaction, but Ruo Heng on the side excitedly held my hand and said in surprise, Master Tianxian is so domineering. When she said this, little stars were twinkling in Ruo Heng's beautiful eyes. She looked at me and said, I envy you. You have a master like Master Tianxian. Since yesterday, Ruo Heng has shown her admiration for Su Tianxian all the time. I understand, Master, but Master, why did you come back here? Didn't you go out to do something? Su Tianxian replied, I was originally going to come here. Su Tianxian suddenly looked at Ruo Heng, without frowning, and asked, Ruo Heng, have you performed for this family? Ruo Heng was stunned and said, yes. Just this morning, the groom suddenly came to me and asked me to sing for him, and then I came. Su Tianxian stared at Ruo Heng closely and said after a while, you were deceived. Ruo Heng screamed, what? Su Tianxian nodded and said, he asked you to sing in order to resolve the resentment of his dead ex-wife. But now you have been involved in the cause and effect. If you don't handle it properly, your life may be in danger. Ruo Heng was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and then stood up with a curse. How dare you lie to me? I have to go find him and ask him clearly. I quickly grabbed Ruo Heng and advised, don't be so anxious. First, listen to my master's solution. Ruo Heng thought so and sat down again. I heard clues in Su Tianxuan's words and asked, Master, did you just talk about your dead ex-wife? Su Tianxian glanced at me and said, you will know what you want to know in a while, so don't worry. As soon as the words fell, the wedding march rang in everyone's ears. Suluo and the fat middle-aged man walked across the red carpet and arrived at the wedding stage. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 50. Next is the normal process of a wedding. Boring and boring. Just when the master of ceremonies sincerely wished the 2 couples. Something happened on the field, and a girl suddenly rushed out of the crowd. The girl is slim and graceful, youthful and beautiful, but her pretty face is full of anger. She pointed at the middle-aged fat man and shouted angrily, Wang Lin. You vicious guy, just to marry this woman. You and she killed my sister and the child in my sister's belly. The sudden change attracted everyone's attention. I looked at the girl, and what she just said caught my attention. She said that Suluo and the middle-aged fat man killed her sister. Etc. I seemed to have captured something. The figure of the ghost mother and son suddenly appeared in my mind. The girl does indeed look somewhat similar to the ghost mother. Could it be that, the ghost mother is the ex-wife of the middle-aged fat man? The fat middle-aged man's face instantly became extremely ugly, and the fat on his face was trembling. You're talking nonsense. Your sister died of illness. How could it be me? After hearing these words, the girl lost control of her emotions. With tears in her eyes, she rushed towards Wang Lin like crazy. I want you to pay with your life for my sister. Pay with your life. When Wang Lin saw the girl rushing towards him, he shouted loudly, "Security! Security! Take her out quickly!" Several security guards rushed out from the corner and carried the girl out directly. Wang Lin! You will definitely get retribution. You will definitely get retribution. The girl burst into tears and shouted heartbreakingly at Wang Lin. Just like that, the girl was taken out. The surroundings instantly fell into deathly silence. Upon seeing this, Wang Lin said a few words of apology, and then the excitement returned to the previous state. I looked at Su Tianqian and asked anxiously, "Master, the sister the girl talks about?" Before he finished speaking, Su Tianqian nodded and said, "Yes, that ghost mother is Wang Lin's ex-wife." I continued to ask, "Then she was also killed by Wang Lin?" Su Tianqian said, "To be precise, Suluo killed her." I was stunned for a moment. It turns out that Su Tianqian has known about this for a long time, but if you think about it carefully, with Su Tianxuan's fortune-telling methods, it is not difficult to know this. Ruo Hung said angrily on the side, "Damn Wang Lin. He did such an evil thing." I also feel some sympathy for the ghost mother's experience. Unexpectedly, the seemingly cruel ghost mother turned out to be such a pitiful person. What shocked me even more was that Suluo's heart was so vicious. You will do whatever it takes to live the life of a rich wife? At this moment, I didn't know what I felt in my heart. Su Tianqian looked at the direction the girl was leaving and said, "The girl who just left is the key to finding the evil star Qing Yang." I was stunned, stood up suddenly, and was about to chase him out. The purpose of my coming here is to find the evil star Qing Yang. Now that I have clues, how can I let it go so easily? But Su Tianqian stopped me. "Don't worry, just sit here first." Although I was confused, I still sat down. Su Tianqian must have a point in what she said, so I just have to abide by it. I looked at Wang Lin on the stage and found that his face looked very bad, and so did Suluo. The two people said a few words and left in a hurry. After that, many people wanted to talk to Su Tianqian, but they were all dissuaded by Su Tianxuan's cold personality.